Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back, and let's chat about what is going on up in the stars and in the planets above us. As we are always doing every morning, we look at this as a way to recognize that the ancient tenet of as above, so below, right? So the dance of the stars and the dance of the planets are really just sort of a map or a guide to what's happening here on the planet. And at any given time, at any given moment, we can tap into that just by recognizing what is happening for us personally. And good morning to everybody who's joining us right now. Today we have a lot to talk about, and I'm really curious how everybody did with the full moon this morning or last night. I checked on it before I went to bed last night. It was really very beautiful, bright. The sky for us here in the Pacific Northwest was clear, so we could actually see it. And I thought I'm going to have trouble going to sleep, but I did not. I fell sound asleep, and then I found myself dreaming early this morning as I was getting ready to wake up about one of our listeners. And I have already texted her this morning to see how she's doing because I just I need to check in, right? She's on my mind apparently, or in my subconscious mind for some reason. So I want to check in with her. And so Helen, if you're out there and you're listening to us, check your messenger because I sent you a message there. So today, I want to talk about the effects of the moon because we're stretching that out just a bit here over the course of the day today, and that's partly because the moon was in an opposition to the sun, right? So that's about illumination. But we also had simultaneously Mercury in a sextile to Neptune, and that's about our intuition and about our inner knowing. And if we add to that today, the moon is actually in a trine to the planet Neptune and in an opposition to Mercury, we have the continuation of some of this inner knowingness that's going on, that light shining very brightly within us, not just outside of us. So what is it that we can see? What is it that we can find out about ourselves? Or what are we intuiting? What are we tapping into? So we're tapping into something. So I want to take a look at that. As well, the moon is making several different connections today. And then she moves into the void later in the evening. And then as we get up in the morning, we'll be in a new sign. The moon will have moved into Sagittarius. And that got me to thinking, right? Sagittarius. What is it about Sagittarius right now? And I went, the South Node. The South Node and the North Node just made that shift out of Cancer and Capricorn into Gemini and Sagittarius. And because the South Node is backing into the sign, it doesn't come in from the 0 degree into the 29th degree. It backs in from the 29th degree. And that means that very shortly here, we're going to have that South Node conjunct the galactic center. And that means the North Node opposing the galactic center. And what does that mean for us? Because the galactic center is sort of a magical place. I mean, it's mysterious. It houses a lot of secret energy and secrets may be being revealed, or I don't know what exactly, but I want to explore that with all of us today. And then I want to go to the sun in our Wisdom Keepers Inner Guidebook today. The sun has been sitting at the gate 2, the gift of orientation, and the Siddhi of, oh Lord, it went right out of my head. Unity. Duh, how can that one go out of your head? And then also we'll take a look at our Pleiadian-Earth energy of the day, which happens to be 7 healing energy, Ish, the shaman, the jaguar energy, the priest or high priest energy, high priestess energy. So we'll want to look at that and see how is that playing into this energy that we have today that seems very spiritual, very bent on enlightening us to some degree or to a lot of degrees, depending on how open you are to that. So let me go back and just say good morning to everybody else. Elisa, good morning. Debbie Tibbetts-Tumiel, good morning. Reedy's feeling better, but no results back. Isn't that interesting? It took Heather's 12 days to come in, and by that time she was over whatever it was she had. Good morning to Asa and Amy and Sue and Mimi. Good morning, Jennifer and Terry and JLo. It's great to see everybody out there this morning, and those of you who might be there but not checking in with us in the chat. Allison, good morning to you. And okay, let's take a good look here now at what the moon is doing with us today, or doing for us, such as the case may be. So today the moon is still in Scorpio. So we're still in that deep, passionate, intense sort of energy. It is very psychic energy. It is very metaphysical, if you will. It takes us into the depths of the things that we cannot see or feel or taste or touch. It is the opposite of the Taurus sun, right? Where we do feel and see and taste and touch. It takes us to that other realm. So they're mirror images of one another. And we get this idea then that there's something deeper than just this physical realm that is around us. Now, later this evening, the moon will go into the void, of course, 7:39 p.m. West Coast time. That'll be 10:39 for those of you on the East Coast, and overnight for those of you following us from Europe. And at 16 minutes after midnight, my time, 3:16 a.m. for you on the East Coast, the moon will have moved out of Scorpio, saying goodbye to that depth and intensity, and opened up into Sagittarius, where now it is a quest, right? It becomes the quest, the journey, the hero's journey, perhaps, on the search for universal truth. I purposely put it that way because there's some other interesting things going on that we'll talk about later. Now, today, then, the moon and her transits are the ones that are going to be of most importance. We talked yesterday about Mercury in that sextile to Neptune. We're going to continue that theme a little bit. We're going to stretch it out over the course of today and maybe even into tomorrow somewhat. But today also the moon joins in as well. We have a sextile to Pluto, a square to Mars, and we have a sextile to Jupiter. So we have these kinds of energies moving us throughout our day. And before I dig into that, let me just make a comment here about transits, because I think sometimes it's a source of confusion for people. I know lately people have been requesting their astrology reports from me. So I've been sending people reports, and then what I hear back from people then is, why does it say one thing and then contradict itself with something else a little bit later? And I bet you guys have had that same kind of question, because I know that when I look at any given day, there are going to be things that say one thing and things that say another thing. And what we're working with then is how we merge and blend and work with all of these energies. In human design, we call this a conundrum, right? How do we work with a conundrum? Well, the conundrums are meant for us to bring things into balance and harmony. We're going back to that theme, that major theme of this week, where we are bringing in these great energies, these big energies, the masculine and the feminine energies, and we're seeking to balance and harmonize all of that energy. So transits likewise are set to do the same things for us. So on a day like today, I'm going to talk about a difficulty. I'm going to talk about some things that are really good. And I want you to understand that that's the way of life, right? That there are triggers out there. There are things that create ease and flow, and sometimes they're all happening at once, such is the case today. So when we talk about the first transit that's occurring, it is the trine to Neptune, which also is an opposition to Mercury. And then we have, this is our huge indicator for the day, that we are tapping into intuition. We are tapping into the unseen realm, what you might call the magical or the mystical. But no matter how you slice this combination of transits here today, this is about our ability to see, hear, feel, taste, touch from the unseen side of things. So using our intuition, or using knowingness, using dreams, or journeying, the shamanic journey to the unknown or to the inner world. So this is a day filled with the opportunity for us to see things from a different perspective, to get in tune with things that we don't normally, in our waking, busy world, often have the time or the inclination to tune into. So today we're tapping in, we're tuning in to the unseen realm and to the intuitive forces that are a part of who we are. Now, as well, when we enter Neptune into any kind of conversation, what happens is our imagination and our dreaminess is sort of stimulated. So today may not be a really good day to get to the concrete sequential of anything that you might want to do. Today is more about the imagination and the fantasy and the dreaminess. So we may, kind of escape into some form of imagination or creative energy that takes us out of that grounded analytical physical realm, and that's okay, right? We live in both, right? We live between the two worlds, and they're both right here in front of us at all times. Sometimes we close our mind to the one so that we can live fully in the other, but we never actually are away from all of the realms, all of the dimensions. They're all right here in front of us. We're going to hear that theme again in the Pleiadian-Earth energy of the day. So we also have during a transit with Neptune. So again, it's a trine from the moon to Neptune. It is Neptune sextile Mercury, or Mercury sextile Neptune, and also the moon in an opposition to Mercury. So we have our minds and our communication and our spiritual awareness all highly activated here. And often that brings us more into compassion and sympathy of the sensitivity even to the other life forms on the planet, as well as to the other people in your world. So today, expect that you may feel more sensitive, you may feel more loving and open to embracing people of all different kinds of faiths and traditions, and feeling more compassion to even the people that are out there creating havoc in the world. So we're just more human perhaps today. I like that thought, right? That what the human embodies is so much more than this flesh and blood. It's deeper than that. There's some spark of the divine walking around with us, our soul, right? That's walking with us, that at any moment can shine through. And today's one of those days. All right. The next transit after this one is a sextile to Pluto. Anytime we bring Pluto in with the moon, we're talking about deep emotional energy. And here, and Pluto looking for the depths, uncovering the dirt, if you will, right? Pluto's in the Lord of the underworld. So he is taking the emotional energy deep and looking at it from that underbelly, right? What's under there? What's under the hood? And causing us to take a look at what those depth positions are. What is it that's really going on deep within you, deep within your emotional body? And and then in our encounters with people today, whether that's in the physical, or if it's in our dream world, or if it's in Zoom like we are today, we're looking for depth in our encounters with people. None of that superficial stuff is going to last for long. We're going to want to dig deep. We're going to want to know the truth about a person, and our deep rooted feelings may start to come up today. The subconscious mind, the realm of Pluto, is being shined on by that very full moon. If you saw that moon, you know it's still full. No matter where you are on the planet, it's still full, and it is shining a very powerful light on those deep emotional wounds, perhaps. Maybe it's those deep emotional hurts. Maybe it is the belief patterns. Whatever it is, they're surfacing, and they're surfacing because this is a very therapeutic time, right? It's not good to keep those things tamped down all the time, or to keep that tight rein on those emotions. Now, I'm not saying go out there and just gush your emotions all over on people, but I am saying that to, mind your own store here. And if these deep emotions or subconscious patterns are coming up for you, this is a really good time to pay attention, right? And to start to work through those deep rooted feelings or emotions or memories of something that has happened to you in the past. Now, the sextile to Pluto also awakens within us that love for the mysterious, for the magical, for digging up secrets, to dig into the secrets of our own psyche, to dig into the secrets of the world, to find out what are the masters of the universe thinking. So conspiracy theories and all those kinds of things that we hear about that take us into a different territory than what we're used to are very appealing right now, as in we want to see the dark side. and as a juxtaposition to the light, right? The light of the moon, and illumination and the symbolic enlightenment versus what's in the dark, and are being able to merge the two into one unified truth. So if you're finding yourself on a quest to dig deep, that would be why, right? That's sextile to Pluto. And this isn't necessarily a bad influence. If it were a square to Pluto, it might be a little more difficult. This isn't particularly difficult. It's more like we really want to go there. We want to go and see what the secrets are. We want to plumb the depths of our own psyche and see maybe why it is, what makes us tick, right? Or why it is that perhaps these patterns are emerging again and again and again in our lives. So maybe it's a great day for pen and journal, pretend journal. Here's a pretend journal, and be able to write what your ahas are, or what it is that's revealed to you. All right, now we also have today the square to Mars. This is the one, right, that seems to be in opposition to these other energies that are more, magical leaning or intuitive. Mars and a square to the moon means our emotional reactivity is nearer to the surface, right? Mars means, a square to Mars means we might be in danger of getting into unnecessary disputes with others. We might feel a little irritable. We may be overly emotional or respond in an overly emotional way to something that happens or something that somebody says. Or we may react in rash or hasty manners today. So we'll have to find a very positive way to blow off steam. Now, I can almost imagine that there's this possibility that you discover something about yourself, and maybe it triggers an irritation, or maybe something someone says, triggers something for you. And you'll have to find a positive way to deal with that energy, maybe doing something physical, getting out in the garden or walking, biking, or running, whatever you do, to break that energy, to dispel that energy. Because if it keeps building up, right, you know what steam does, it just builds up and eventually it blows the lid off something, or it boils over. So today is not a day to make hasty decisions. Today is not a day to be reactive. Today is a day to slow down, right, and not to make those hasty decisions or take rash actions or make judgments or criticisms about other people. So minding your own emotional self, right? And your own irritation, and, trace that source of that irritation. If it's traced back to a thought, then change your thinking, right? It's that easy. It really is. I know from experience that when you get into that irritability, sometimes it's really hard to think about something that's not of an irritating nature, right? It's hard to break that spell. And sometimes what you have to do is to get out and run or walk or do something. That's the best way to do it. And then come back and change that thinking pattern. Finally, the last aspect the moon makes today is the one that we're left with as she moves into the void later this evening, and that is a sextile to Jupiter. And this is a very good one to be left with. Remember, for a long time when the moon went into the void, of course, we were left with like either Pluto transits or some kind of Saturn transit. So we'd go into the void sort of in that low energy, or in that, sort of irritated energy. Well, today we get to go into the void with a Jupiter transit, which means that we're going in with maybe feel good feelings. We may be going in with love energy. The love of our friends and our families, of what's familiar. So we may want to surround ourselves tonight to this evening with the things that make us feel good. Watching those things on television, perhaps, that make you feel good, picking up your favorite books, or you're being around your favorite people. And while you're feeling this good, it can roll off of you and cause other people to become enlightened in that feeling of love and generosity and optimism. It's a very persuasive energy. Likewise, if you're on the other end of that energy, the more negative expression of this energy, it can also persuade others to be that way. So remember, we're all in this together, and what you're feeling and how you're reacting is very catching, if you will, sort of like a virus, very catching. So you want to watch what it is that you're putting out there. And there is also the possibility, whenever there's a sextile to Jupiter by any kinds of planets, it can be an encounter with someone. It can represent a person that in some way impacts you in your life. If it's the moon, it could be possibly a woman who is in your life that rocks your world in some way, or that in some way has an effect on you. If it were another planet that was in sextile to Jupiter, it might be a different kind of expression. But this is likely an encounter with the divine feminine, maybe the nurturing mother, mothering instincts or mothering energy. And I would be open to whatever that encounter brings to you, even if the encounter isn't with a person that you know. Maybe it's just someone on that you meet at the grocery store, or somebody that you read about, or somebody that you dream about. So watch for the possibility of some form of teacher or person coming into your life that has an effect on you today. It doesn't mean it's going to be someone that stays in lasts in their encounters with you, but something may rock your world. Let's take a look at what people are saying over here. Everybody's still checking in, saying good morning. Mimi says an oxymoron of the energies, skimming over deep thought. Interesting. I love that, Mimi. That's great. Marissa, good morning. Dang it, I'm late again. It's okay. You can always see this again from the beginning. And good morning, Phantom Chroma. I think you're Lexi. It's great to see all of you out there this morning. Okay, so now I want to go over to another conversation. This isn't going to be a very long day, I'm thinking, because this next one is going to be thought-provoking, perhaps, but I don't have a lot of facts and figures and, this or that to give to you about this energy. But I want you to think for a moment about, I want you to visualize, right? Visualize, fantasize, dream about, or get a picture of, right? In some way, I want you to get a picture of our Milky Way galaxy. And we all know what it looks like, right? It's a spiral and these arms come off of it. And so it almost looks like a whirlpool, right? Energy of stars and planets and points out there that we can't see, but we can, if we look out at the night sky on a clear night, we can really see how that band, that arm of stars that we're a part of, show up in the sky. And in the center of that galaxy resides the galactic center. Now, the galactic center I think of as the source emitting truth and cosmic knowledge, wisdom, the Akashic records being a part of that. And scientists might look at it as the source of the Big Bang, the source of all that is. Maybe we can look at it as cosmic mind or source or God or goddess, the great source energy, right? Emitting high charged energy particles rolling outward through the whole of the entire spiral armed galaxy. Now, the galactic center sits astrologically or zodiacally at the 26 to 28 degree span of Sagittarius. That's how big it is, right? It's so big and so large that it takes up 2 degrees of space across the ecliptic plane. And that particular set of degrees then becomes the source of universal truth. Now, how fitting is that, right? Sagittarius, the sign of the archer, right? Whose arrow is pointed at truth, and in its experience here on the planet is experiencing truth in all of its variances, all of its differences, all of its untruths, right? If we're going to experience truth, we're also going to experience untruth and all of that. But his arrow is pointed at that galactic center, which then we can look at as the source of universal truth, right? The bigger capital T truths, not, the smaller things that we take for truths here on this little planet. Now, as we know, the South Node and the North Node they comprise an axis in the chart. And that axis is about our destiny on one end, and on the other end, the experiences that we have had that we carry with us, right? The collective experiences and the collective destiny. As well, in your own chart, you have your own personal destiny and your own personal collective, or your own personal ancestral or experiences that you brought with you to this planet. So I want to give you some other terms now that you can think of with the South Node and the North Node as they go transiting through the signs of Gemini and Sagittarius. And that is the South Node, which will conjunct the galactic center here shortly, specifically from about July through probably the beginning of the year of 2021. And think of this as the collective soul's wisdom and or your own personal wisdom, the part that you've played in the collective drama of the planet, of the spheres, right? Whatever experiences, wherever you were. And then the North Node, which will be opposing the galactic center. I want you to think of that as your soul's progression, the collective soul's progression. Where are we moving to? And one hand, we have the wisdom that we've garnered through God knows how many existences or lifetimes. And on the other end, the experiences that we are yet to have, right? And they are modified by the signs that the nodes are moving through. So we can get a kind of glimpse that there's something about ideas, something about curiosity, something about open-mindedness, something about youthfulness that we are about to experience in our soul's progression through Gemini. And then on the other end, that we're adding that to our collective bucket of experiences and wisdom. So I want you to think of the South Node conjunct the galactic center as your soul's wisdom, or the collective soul's wisdom. Okay. And then we bring in this other word, and we're going to read about I'm going to read this to you here just in a few minutes, about orientation. And if we are oriented to this wisdom, this universal truth energy that is coming in, it points us in the right direction. It points us to the direction that we're moving into. And we're moving into that more Gemini energy, right? That lighter touch. Mimi, I think you hit it on the head when you said, I'm going to go back and see if I can find that comment, the oxymoron of the energies, right? Skimming over deep thought. Well, in a way, that's kind of the experience here of the collective, where we are skimming over and experiencing a wider variety of information while anchoring that deeper universal truth energy as well. Now, we're probably going to hear more about this over the course of time. And I want you to remember that the last time this was occurring on the planet, it wasn't such a very comfortable time, because this was the aftermath of the 9/11 terrorist attacks and the issues that popped up in our world around that. So I want you to think about the fear that engendered in us, that we would go to such extremes, such lengths to protect ourselves from terrorists. And I'm not, this isn't about the right or wrongness of it. It's about the reaction that we had to the energy, both collectively and individually. And you may not have been affected by it personally. Maybe no one you knew died in the Twin Towers or in any of the airplanes that crashed or in the Pentagon. Maybe nothing like that occurred for you personally, but in your psyche, in your body, in your humanness, in your evolution of soul or your cosmic evolution, you felt this, right? You felt this energy and you participated in this energy. You participated perhaps in the illusion of what that action represented. And we turned it into more fear on the planet. Now, fast forward to now, where what we have that's creating and engendering the most fear on the planet now is the virus and the deaths from that virus, the impact that virus is having on our economy, which, by the way, that terrorist attack had the same effect on our economy, right? And I want us to look deeper at what this is all about. I don't want us to be in fear, because I think the reason we repeat these sessions of fear is so that we'll snap out of it, so we'll wake up, so that we'll see that this is all a grand illusion, that it's an illusion that we're participating in, that we are creating, each one of us, with our thoughts and what our focus has been on. And I was thinking about this yesterday as well, listening to a video of one of the more, I don't know, extreme voices out there warning us about, what the deep state is, or the darkness on the planet is. And then you listen to, the more mainstream, let's say, fear field. And when you look at them both, they're both fear. They're both all about fear. One couching it in, I want to wake you up, but it's really still the same message, just in fear. And the other one is fear in your face fear, right? And what is it that we're meant to do with all of that? And I finally had to shut it off yesterday. I couldn't finish listening to it because it was just too dark, too much in that dark. And we know that what we focus on is what we create. So maybe the lesson in these big events, the coronavirus, 9/11, world wars, is about what do we focus on when that happens, when we're challenged as a species, when we're challenged as humans. What is it we focus our energy on immediately? It has been survival, right? And survival energy often takes us in that fear-based reactionary energies, right? Fight, flight, or freeze, that have kept us alive on the planet for millenniums. But we're beyond that now. We really are. We're sitting here at this precipice of choice. Are we going to choose to release our connection to that fear and, tapping into that fear-based bullshit? Or are we going to create, as we know we are the creators, a world that does not generate that kind of event, so that we'll have to face our fears, that we each openly face it, process it, release it, and move on, right? Face it, process it, release it, and move on. And that is exactly what these things are designed to bring us to. The soul's wisdom is about the ways that we've done it in the past that are like beating our heads up against the wall. And the new is, how do we greet that now? How do we change that dynamic up? How do we create a new pathway forward? And it's up to you. And it's up to me. It's up to us as individuals, based on what is it that we're feeding ourselves, right? If you feed yourselves nothing but junk food and McDonald's, as we saw in Super Size Me, what happens? Your body begins to break down. Your mind begins to go loony. Your heart starts to do weird things. Your arteries and so forth begin to clog up. So what do you think happens when you're feeding your soul this darkness, or this, I'm not arguing the veracity of any of it. I'm just saying there's a bigger truth, right? These are little T truths, right? These are the little T's. We want the big T. We want to get to the heart of the universe. We want to get to the heart of the cosmos. We want to get to the galactic center, the source of wisdom, right? The source of the universal truth. And that is the opportunity that we're faced with from about now. We can even say we're at the bullet burn point. We're at 29 degrees. And I said this was going to be the 26 to 28 degrees of Sagittarius, and it backs in to Sagittarius, right? So it's at 29 degrees. The next click over is 28. So in a way, we're already sitting here at this energy. We're already sitting at the 29th degree, which tells me it's karmic. And that means looking into that wisdom that we've garnered through ages in other experiences. What would we do differently? How could we, in a more loving space, have created a different outcome with some of our experiences in the past? And if we take that wisdom now and apply it to where we are now, how can we create a better future based on being in the light and using energy that is more loving than more fear-based, right? Emotionally feeling good, following our inner compass, our north node, you could even call it your North Star. There was a book about that, right? Following your North Star. That's more personal, but we as human beings are also following a North Star. And that's our great opportunity right now. All right. comments, questions about that? Augustina, good morning. Gemini Sun and Sagittarius Moon here, Gemini Sun here. On top of that, my Gemini Sun is at 28 degrees of Gemini, and that means that that North Node is going to hit my natal Sun here very shortly, all through the month of July at least. And that means that even in my own life, this is why this becomes so fascinating to me, because the opposition point to my Sun is that galactic center. So it's that wisdom. I just want to bring it in. I just want to bring it all here. I want to bring it here, and I want us to elevate this planet to be living in that cosmic light, not living in that dark. J-Lo, cool. I think what you will be having is called a reverse nodal return. Just had that with Capricorn and Cancer axis. Always fun, isn't it? Debbie, head in the South Node is in my 12th house and North is in my 6th, which I found interesting. And that makes me think, just off the top of my head, of someone who in previous lifetimes has been a sort of Freud or Jung, right? Spending a lot of time in the depths of psychology and in the dark, or in a prison of sorts, right? A prison of the mind or a prison of thought. And moving it toward the 6th means that your work is, more experienced in healing energy, in the physical body, and the manifestation maybe of some of these psychologies in the physical being. So it would be pretty interesting, Debbie, to see how you deal with maybe healing crises, or with people. Maybe you have a very healing energy. If I remember correctly, you are a reflector. And a reflector is someone who is here that predicts the relative health of a group or a community or a family. So that makes perfect sense to me. Kamal, good morning to you. J-Lo, OMG, interesting, Debbie. Mine is in 1 degree North Node, Sagittarius in the 6th house and the 12th house also. It is amazing times we are living in. Kamal says, happy super flower moon to everyone. Life and longevity. Back to you as well, Kamal. Debbie Hedden said, yes, it is amazing. J-Lo, wow, how will this affect me if my galactic center is 26 degrees of Sagittarius? Well, how will it affect you is basically determined by how open you are to receiving what's coming in from that South Node. How willing are you to take all of that wisdom that you're housing? It's almost like you're the repository of that Akashic records of all of the wisdom. And how do you put that out into the world? The North Node's in Gemini, the other side. Gemini is a sign of communication, of sharing ideas and moving energy, right? So how are you going to use that? That's up to you. And Mimi says, Kamal, same for you and yours. I love it. I love how we support one another here in this group. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so let's now, if you have other questions or comments about the galactic center or anything like that, please feel free to continue putting that in there. But I want to make sure I get to the Pleiadian-Earth energy of the day, because and then I want to read the sun at the gate 2. Maybe I should read the sun at the gate 2 first. Yes, I think that's true. Let's do that. So we read the other day the wisdom story of the Earth at gate 1, which was the gate of freshness. Remember our lovely woman here. Look at that bright, fresh face. And we learned all about how the gate 1 is the most yawn energy. It's the most about getting out there and creating. And that creation is also a part of that creative energy is also moving into the I don't want to say the dark, but it is kind of the dark, the void. The space of melancholy, of withdrawing energy, so that we are forming our new creative events, and then those burst out, and that energy moves out of entropy and into action. So that's what the Earth has been showing us this week. Well, the sun is at the gate 2, whose shadow is dislocation. The gift is orientation, and the siddhi is unity. And here's our unity man. Right, our gate 2 is the gift of orientation, and here is our face, right? Beautiful, beautiful. Look at the light shining in his eyes. Now let's read the wisdom story here and see why it is I was kind of excited about this story. Now, as you come more into contact with your unity with all creatures, you also witness an enhancement in your own uniqueness, particularly through your creative process. Here's the wisdom story. As a child, the trees were my friends and the animals were my family. To my people, everything was connected and pulsing with life. But then my family moved to a world of straight lines and tiny boxes. I felt different, cut off, and dislocated. Every turn I took seemed wrong. So I discarded my indigenous roots and started collecting human friends, money, and knowledge. I even dabbled in Western religions until I chose modern science as my God. My life became structured, ordered, and regimented. On the surface, I laughed at my parents' chaotic, irrational ways, but underneath, I felt helpless, out of sync, and full of self-doubt. At night, I had recurring nightmares of humanity self-destructing. At one point, I felt so lost, I considered ending my life. But then my grandmother passed away. The following night, she came to me in a dream and said, "Every time you reject your roots, my sweet boy, you not only reject me and our family, but the entire cosmos." That dream did something to me, something powerful. The very next day, I found myself planning a trip back to Australia. It would be the first time I visited since our family moved away. The moment I got off the plane, a flood of old feelings rushed through me. It was as if the land entered my bloodstream and my body remembered how it felt to trust, surrender, and let go. Ironically, it was also in that moment that I realized that there was nothing I needed to do, nowhere I needed to go in order to end the sense of lostness and emptiness that had ruled my life. Simply becoming aware of the longings underneath was enough to reorient and renew me with a surge of unexpected creativity. Now I know in my whole body that I belong no matter where I am, and that I have something wonderfully unique to contribute. Even in the busy city, the trees are my friends, and everything around me is a part of beautiful symphony where I am playing a unique and essential instrument. My gift to you. I come to bring you the gift of orientation. When you look into my eyes, allow me to remind you of the deepest truth that we are all one. You and I may look different from each other, but deep down we are the same. Care less about what others think of you and more about how you are a natural part of the whole. Open yourself up to a path of synchronicity as you surrender into my eyes. Don't think too much. Allow the certainty within me that we are all connected in a single unity, that all things happen in the exact right timing, to reassure you that there is no way for you to be outside of the stream of life. It is simply impossible. Questions for contemplation. Are you feeling lost, alone, or out of sync? Or are you constantly trying to control, define, or regiment your life? When did you last feel a deep sense of unity, like you were in the flow and connected to all of life? Where were you? Who were you with? Find a simple way to reconnect with that feeling today. Spend time in nature, sing, dance, or laugh with others. Go to a favorite place and take it all in. There we go. Look deep into his eyes, right? Those eyes that take you to the connection, the unity, the oneness, that we are all together. Haha, love it. All righty. So that's our story, and I'm sticking to it. I like that story. And let's see, I'm going to go back real quick, looking for comments. Amy, yes, love this group. I do too. I just love you all. Galactic Center Wisdom on us. I love it. You, Ursula, I agree with owning our own vibrational energy and not falling into conspiracies that keep fear and Piscean victimhood going. Neutrality has its gift. Yay. I love that word. Thank you so much, Ursula, because that brings me to something that I've been seeking, and that's neutrality, right? When we have these days with the moon in Scorpio and there's all of this depth, and then we get Pluto involved and Mars involved, it makes it very hard to stay neutral. And it's that neutrality, standing here in the middle, where allowing both ends to exist. They do. There's not much we can do about that, right? It's all part of this one big universal truth. And being neutral in the face of all of that, because the minute you start to react to any of it, then you're playing into that fear field. You are helping anchor that fear field here on the planet. Being aware is one thing, but feeding into it is a completely different energy. So neutrality, great. Thank you. Mimi, Ursula said, she said, yes, Ursula. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. J-Lo says, I agree also, Ursula. I stop once I see a rabbit hole and too many posts from friends. I allow them to be and just scroll by. Indeed. That's like the biggest thing we can learn right now. Alrighty, so let's go into our Pleiadian energy of the day. And today we are at 7 healing energy. So we're sitting here at the precipice, right? We're at that halfway point in our 13-day cycle where we are walking through into merging energy. 7 energy is about merging. And for those of you who are new, we have 2 energies. We have the universal energy of the day as represented by a number, and then we have the earth energy of the day represented by a word or an energy. So the energies of the 7 universal day are what we are talking about when we say we're merging. Here is where we are called to decipher and understand hidden truths, to see where it is that we are oriented to. What truth are we oriented to? Or what falsehoods are we oriented to? Where are we not in right orientation? Where do we need to kind of get back on the bus headed toward universal truth again? And this is a day to open our vision, to see things from a bigger perspective, a wider view, to see through the illusion, right? That all of this is an illusion. The fact that we think these things are solid is an illusion, because it's really just a bunch of molecules that, and if you look deeper in, it's all a bunch of space, right? Most of anything that's solid is space. And that means that you are also space. And when you look at a hologram, right, which is just an illusion, what do you see there? You know, you can just go right through that space, right? Because it's not real. So we can move right through all of these illusions here on the planet. The illusion that even this is a physical planet. The illusion that we're separate from anybody or anything or any other kingdom. It's all an illusion. So what we have here is the possibility of the 7 is to be able to merge all of these dimensions and these realities here and see them here in the now, right? They're right here, right now. The Devic kingdoms, the mineral kingdoms, the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, the human kingdom, the unseen realm, and our angels and our guides, and you name them, right? The masters, the ascended masters are all here right now in this moment, sitting here together in this room, in this space, right? It's not separate from us. And so then comes the next realization that we have been creating and participating in this grand illusion, right? This illusion where truth is obscured. It's in the dark. We don't see the truth clearly. And every once in a while, if we can get out of the story, we can understand that this is something that we are creating. And today's that day, right? Where we are being able to see that even the veil itself is an illusion created so that we'll stay focused in whatever it is that our purpose is in this particular lifetime or in this facet of who it is that we are. So the veil serves a purpose, but I guess the bigger, wider purpose, the bigger, wider truth is it doesn't exist. It's all, everything is all here right now as one and in this moment that we've just been participating in this grand illusion. So healing energy is the earth energy of the day. Healing in the Mayan calendar was Ish. It was represented by the jaguar. It was the energy of the high priest. You could also look at it as the high priestess energy. It is an energy where we have to first heal ourselves before we can really attempt to heal others. So this is why it's always, no matter what you see out there in the other world, no matter who has triggered what within you, it is your responsibility to do your own healing and processing on your own stuff first. Otherwise, you are not a clear channel for healing for other people. And this is why, I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you have heard of Ho'oponopono. This is why this is such a powerful healing tool, because it's always working on oneself, right? You're acknowledging that this off balance energy is a part of your world because you're seeing it. And so you're adding love and forgiveness and thankfulness, gratitude to it. in order to heal it. So you're working on yourself. And oh, by the way, that just happens to work in the opposite as well, healing other people, right? So the idea of this healing energy on the planet is to recognize where you yourself are out of whack, and working on yourself is all the power you really have. And even if you are a healer, a massage therapist, or a Reiki master, you're really not necessarily working on someone else. You're really channeling that healing of yourself outward toward other people. So it's an interesting day all the way around. To me, it spells that orientation, that word, right? The source of universal truth, how we're becoming embodied with that and taking it in a new direction as our souls are progressing here on the planet. And orientation then is, what are you pointed at? What direction are you pointed in? And I would say maybe we're pointed in all directions at one time, but because we have a soul's desire to progress, that one facet that we're pointed at now is what creates the illusion, perhaps, of separation, or of those kingdoms not all being here with us at one time. Whew. It's a big day, isn't it? Right? It's a big day on an energetic plane. Okay, so any other comments or questions? If you are new to my channel, or you're seeing this broadcast for the first time, please subscribe. I would be so appreciative. That's right down below. You see the subscribe button. For those of you who want to be notified about broadcasts, you can hit the little bell and it will create a notification for you so that you'll know when I'm coming on live. What else do I have to share with you all this morning? I think that might be it for now. Tomorrow is Friday. Can't believe it. The weeks fly by. So that means tomorrow we will be getting together to talk about not only Friday's energy, but the weekend's energy. And we will do some card reading, some oracle cards. So I will see you tomorrow. I wish you all a wonderful day orienting to truth. Take care. Bye for now. Oopsie, not yet.